Hi guys, I'm super excited. Today's my very first episode of A Shade of Pink. I'm so glad you joined me, but you'll need to give me a couple of minutes to get right back. For a long time, I debated whether I should talk about cancer on a show or whether people would be afraid because of the stigma and everything attached to cancer, which is very much the case, at least in Africa it is. And I realized that the only way I could really make an impact is if I actually share my story and show that even out of the most traumatic things, you can make something good come out of it. So that's the reason why I've decided that let me share my story as the first part of what we're trying to achieve here. So I grew up with a mother who had cancer 4 different times. 4 different times the doctors called us and told us that she was going to die. 4 different times my mother beat cancer. In fact, she lived for 33 years after the doctors told us she was going to die. And so you can imagine that I was really excited. I thought, okay, my mother, there's no chance my mother is going to die of cancer. But to my horror, 33 years later, she died of leukemia as a side effect of a medication that she was on. And it was devastating. And to make it even worse, 6 months after after we buried my mother, I was diagnosed with breast cancer myself. And I remember I was super angry. But I realized that, look, I have a choice. I can be totally miserable, I can slink into the darkness, or I can look at what the experience has taught me. And that's what I decided to do. So you may be wondering, okay, how did I know, or when did I know I had cancer? In 1993, I had a lumpectomy because I found a breast lump. And the interesting thing then was they mixed it up. They said I had cancer when I didn't have cancer. And I remember being so relieved when I got the negative result that it was benign. Now, almost 20 years later, I went for a mammogram. So I was used to doing mammograms. I would go for mammograms because I was breast aware. Obviously, if my mother had breast cancer and I had breast cancer, I had a scare, I was already used to doing mammograms and ultrasounds and stuff like that. And I had a mammogram done. I actually had a mammogram done. But something in my gut was telling me that things weren't all right. And that's why I always tell people that listen to that small voice. Some people call it spirit, some people call it gut. Listen to the voice. I just had this feeling that something was not right. I remember standing in front of the mirror and saying to myself, look, if ever I got cancer, what would I do? That day I made up my mind I would take both breasts off. Anyway, I was going on holiday to the UK and I thought, look, I have insurance. Let me just do this mammogram again. And I can tell you that day I went to do the mammogram, I knew I had breast cancer. It was very strange. It was so strong. The premonition was so strong. So if I went, had my mammogram, had an enlarged mammogram, the radiographer now told me that she wants to do a biopsy. And I thought, oh, this is not what I want to hear. Anyway, did my biopsy and I didn't sleep that night. I knew in my heart that it was bad news. And I remember I was planning on going back to Nigeria and I was all scheduled to go back to Nigeria. What happens? I get a phone call. I get a phone call not from the hospital, but from the surgeon. He introduced himself and told me that, look, I hear you want to go back to Nigeria. Don't go back till you see me. And I'm thinking, okay. And he says, it's my day off, you can come to my house. And I thought, oh no, that is seriously bad news. No doctor invites you to his house to come on his day off just for nothing. He's not inviting me to come and drink a cup of tea. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I was there with my sons. And I knew that I couldn't take them with me. And I'm sitting and thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I get this random phone call from a friend of mine. And he says, oh, look, I'm really jobless right now. I'm flying back to Nigeria. Can I come and hang out? It's funny how in circumstances like that, somehow God has a way of arranging people. So they came along and off we went to the house. And I remember going to this doctor's house. It was in a beautiful countryside, an amazing quaint cottage. And inside was going to be the news that was going to change my life. I got in there, he sat me down and he said straight up, you know, they don't mess. I have good news, I have bad news, which one do you want? And of course I went straight for the bad news, that's who I am. So he says, well, the bad news is you have cancer. The good news is we got it on time. And I remember blurting out, take them off. And that's all I remember. That's the funny thing about getting bad news. You don't remember anything else after that. And I just basically said, how quickly can I get them off? Mine was, if my breasts are going to kill me, take the things off. 5 days later, I had the mastectomy. And I remember I was debating before the mastectomy, what do I do? Should I take a picture of my breasts so I can remember them? Should I try and, what do I do? I didn't even know then you could do breast casts. Apparently you can now cast your breasts and things like that, but I didn't know about that. And I'm sitting and thinking, how do I preserve this memory of this thing I'm about to lose? And I realized that, look, what's the point? Why do you want to keep going back to memories of what were? You need to move forward. So I scrapped that idea and off I went to my mastectomy. And I remember after the mastectomy surgery, it was funny because I had this feeling that my life was going to change because of it, that my life actually had meaning. My surgery wasn't straightforward. I had complications. I had to go back into theater after finishing my dinner because a stitch came undone and I was bleeding internally. My lungs collapsed. I had to be rushed into the CT thing because they thought that I had an embolism. It was all trauma. But I remember as I was debating this blood transfusion, I was forced to really look at my life and realize that there has to be something good that comes out of it. Something good has to come out of this. And that day I made up my mind I was going to turn things around. I wasn't going to wallow in self-pity. I was going to use my experience and what I'd gone through to help other people. And when I was in the hospital, the nurses were asking me, why are you so happy? Because my family would come and we'd laugh and we'd gist and we'll play around and stuff. And they'd look, there's something wrong with you. Why aren't you miserable? You've just had a mastectomy. Why aren't you depressed? Why aren't you sad? And I told them, I said, I know now I have a purpose. I got home and they sent me a breast counselor. It was really funny. They sent me this breast counselor who came looking really tired and really worn out and looking like she'd had a really bad day. I sat her down, gave her a cup of tea. She told me all her problems and I dispatched her on her way. And that was when I realized that I actually didn't need the counseling, that I had the capacity to counsel. And that led me in my journey. And it made me realize that in Africa, we focus too much on how we're supposed to look. A woman is supposed to be this epitome. We're supposed to be buxom and bosomed, and that is the African mama, and that if you don't have breasts, it means you're not a woman. And I had to change all that. I had to redefine all that. I had to look at myself and say, look, what makes me the woman? Is it the breast I have? Is it the clothes I wear? What is it? And in Africa, we are quite restrained by culture, by religion, by all these kind of things. And it puts us into this box of how we're supposed to behave and what we're supposed to look like and all those kind of things. And I realized that I couldn't force myself to live that way anymore. I needed to free myself. And the amazing thing about having the mastectomy was it gave me choices. I didn't have to worry too much about going for mammograms and all those kind of things. It meant that I could decide on if I wanted breasts or I didn't want breasts. It decided that if I wanted big ones, I could have big ones. If I wanted small ones, I could have small ones. And that's basically what I did. The days I want to wear breasts, I wear breasts. The days I don't want to wear breasts, I don't wear breasts. And I have that freedom of choice. Let me share something very funny that happened to me when I got back to Nigeria. I went to the gym. I'd managed to package myself very well. I wasn't too used to wearing prosthesis at this point in time, and I remember kind of like putting my prosthesis into my half top, wearing my micro shorts, and I went confidently off to the gym. And I kept on praying that my prosthesis would not fall out or my breast wouldn't shift somewhere else. And I remember in the corner of the gym, there was a bunch of women who were looking at me. And they were not looking at me as in lovingly or whatever. They were looking at me as if to say they were preparing for me. And I finished my gym session and off I went to the changing rooms where they were waiting for me. So this babe comes up to me and says, yeah, that's how all you skinny, she's used the word lekba. Lekba is a Yoruba word for skinny women. That's how all you lekba, you come to the gym to make us feel bad about ourselves. That's how you come and intimidate us, all us women who have body and co. And what I did, I didn't say anything. I took off my breasts. She wanted to collapse. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know whether to, you know that moment where you just sit and think, oh God, ground, swallow me up. And she was in tears. She was begging me to forgive her. She didn't mean it. I said, look. Don't judge anybody by how they behave or how they look or what they do. You do not know their story. Learn that everybody carries burdens. Everybody carries challenges. The brass tacks of the issue is this this blow that life has dealt you, this tragedy you've gone through, this trauma you've gone through, what do you want to do with it? Are you going to use it to hold you back? Or are you going to use it to project yourself forward? So ladies out there, especially African women out there, let us stop allowing people to define who we are by how we look. I'm not wearing breasts. I'm sure it's only now that I mention it to you that you will realize that my chest is flat. It didn't make me less of a woman, did it? It didn't make you look at me differently. Let's stop focusing so much about what we are on the outside, because at the end of the day, what's going to project you forward is what you are on the inside. So I'm going to end here, and I look forward to sharing the next episode with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget, you are the author of your own story. Stop allowing people to write it for you. Happiness remains a choice. Stop abdicating your happiness to other people or to circumstances. Take care and God bless. Bye.